Now, this was recorded October the 24th of 2013, all right, 2.5 years ago. So I want you to peep out what he says, and especially how he inverts on Esau's seed and the Edom thing. At least he's speaking the truth and he's telling the truth, all right? Then he gets into Syria. Now remember, all this stuff with Syria and Turkey is just started, but this happened 3 years ago. Then when he, all right, then he talks about the chosen people and the Esau and the Jacob seed, but he never mentions the Ishmael seed. Now we all know that the Ishmael seed, and even the Arabs know that they're the Ishmael seed. So we got that one established. But understand also how he speaks mostly about the Jewish state. He won't say the Hebrew nation, all right, in Israel. He'll say the Jewish state, all right, in the Middle East. And we already established that Jewish came up in the 8th century. It's a Yiddish Jamaic word. All came up in the 8th century. It has nothing to do with Hebrew.
Now, we have a reprint article on Psalm 83, and we'll send it to you if you don't understand that, and it will prove to you that Turkey is going to ally itself with Germany, not with America, and not with Britain, and not with a Jewish nation in the Middle East. Because of that alliance and Turkey's hatred for Britain and America and the Jews in the Middle East, God has a powerful prophecy against them. But they're going to do a lot of their dirty work that they have in mind. They're already doing it, as a matter of fact. But why would God inflict them so completely and totally? Well, Esau was the firstborn son of Isaac. And he had a twin brother, Jacob, who was born just after he was. So they are brothers. Jacob, or the 12 tribes of Jacob, or the 12 tribes of Israel, they are the brother of Esau, also born of Rebekah, Isaac's wife. And so they are brothers. Now, Jacob went on to have these 12 sons, or the 12 tribes of Israel. His name was changed to Israel. But God focuses on 3 of those nations in particular in this end time, because they're called the birthright nations and the scepter nation, which is Judah, or the Jews of the Middle East. And Esau, now we have Esau, but what is the modern name of Esau? Well, it's Turkey, and that's not all that difficult to prove. It's not that difficult. We talk about that and prove it in the United States and Britain in Prophecy, which we will give you for free. All of our literature is free. We also have a booklet on Obadiah that explains to you that it's a book about Esau. And it's dual. And it has a powerful duality that is absolutely critical, not only for this world and for Esau, but for the church of God as well. Critical to understand that. So we're going to be writing a booklet soon on how Turkey betrays America, and they are going to do it, and it's clear in Bible prophecy, and there's not a thing we can do to stop it, and we need to understand that. But God punishes Esau for betraying his own brother. Esau anciently received the birthright blessing, but he rejected that birthright. It's talked about in the New Testament as well as the Old. Hebrews 12 verses 14 through 17 talks about him giving up that birthright for a morsel of food, a bowl of soup. That's what it all boiled down to. But the birthright is what? Well, it's all of the wealth and the power that America and Britain have had for over 200 years to the very present. All that wealth and power would have gone to Esau if he hadn't rejected the birthright. But he did. And he sold it for, well, a bowl of soup. And here we have this same nation in modern times that have our nuclear bombs, and they have been a very unstable alliance, to say the least, for America and Britain. And they certainly are one right now. So that betrayal, you see, it ought to concern us, since they have our nuclear bombs.
Now, peep this out. He sits down and he says they have our nuclear bombs. And then he sits down and he says that Esau sold his right, which America and Britain have, that should have went to him for a bowl of soup. Now, this is what I talk about, the Gentiles taking the word and they fashion it to their own liking and their own rule. Now, if you understand one thing, the right was passed on to Jacob, but Jacob lost that right by the worship of idols and this, that, and the third. But since God had already made a promise to Jacob, that's where they'll get the double portion. So Esau got back his promise by the idols and the worshiping of Jacob's seed, which led them back into captivity, back into another Egypt on ships with the yokes around our neck. Now, do you see how he just fashioned that? But he speaks clearly on Esau's seed taking this stuff, taking the nuclear bombs, and then he said they took our nuclear bombs, admitting that he's a part of Esau's seed, and so is America and Britain. Bingo.
And they're going to betray us. What does that mean for you and for Britain, the people of Britain, the people of America, and the people of the Jewish nation in the Middle East? God says in Obadiah 13.
Once again, the Jewish nation in the Middle East. He did not say the Hebrew nation and the children of Israel in the country of Israel. You peeped how he said that. Understand etymology, the origin and the study of words and phrases and how they're used. The spirit, familiar spirit, and Satan will always tell on itself.
In 14, this book about Esau, or Turkey, as well as some spiritual Edomites, or spiritual people with that Esau attitude. But it says that there that Turkey is at the crossway. What does that mean? Well, it means the crossroads of the world. We have to look at this geopolitically and try to get the vision here of what it means. This is a giant gate, sea gate, in the Bosphorus at the north of Turkey and the Dardanelles at the south of Turkey, and especially controlled by European Turkey. And look, you have to understand what this all means. If you don't have these gateways, and if you don't have, for example, if Russia, after winning all that power in World War II, was not able to come through the Bosphorus and the Dardanelles out into the Mediterranean for world trade, they could never have sustained their world power. It's about world power. And that is something we don't seem to understand in America and Britain. Britain has already lost out in that part of the world. They used to control that part of the world, and that's when they were a world power. But they've lost it and all that power with it. And America is going the same direction. And it's almost there. How much influence do you think we have in that part? How much geopolitical influence, let's say, do we have in the crossroads of the world and in the Middle East and that surrounding area? How much influence does America have? It's all about world power. You need to read the history books and realize that if you lose out in that area, you lose everything. Or potentially so anyhow. That's a critical seagate of this world. And it is controlled right now by Turkey, but only because the U.S. has backed and supported them and kept it from Russia. They would have taken it if we hadn't helped Turkey. But again, you can have all kinds of space age power the planes and all of that, all kinds of technology in airplanes. But look, it's still about world trade, which is transported mainly by ships as we get those raw materials and minerals from the soil. They have to be shipped mainly by large ships. And that's where the Seagate, that crossroads of the world, comes in.
Now peep this out. He's not one time getting into the scriptures and all this stuff. He's pushing the agenda of what's going on with the separation, Esau's seed, Jacob's seed. Then he'll get more into how then you'll understand who the Hebrew and the Jacob seed are, because he actually tells you. Okay, now he's pushing the agenda of war, economics, the ships, and the fruit of the land that Esau's seed lives by the sword. This is what I preach and I talk about, but nobody wants to listen. This is the message that I'm giving you guys firsthand, and here's the evidence.
All of those goods from Russia flow right through there, out into the Mediterranean and around the world. Russia has that warm sea outlet there, and it means everything to their stature in the world and their power in this world. They have a naval base in Syria. Why would they want to be in Syria? Well, because they want to control the crossroads of the world. They want to control the Middle East. They want to put themselves in a position where they can bring down other powers. That's what it's all about. Now again, Russia, without that, would not be a world power. But look, you have, as it says in Genesis 25 and verse 23, that Rebekah had 2 nations in her womb. 2 nations. That's verse 23 of Genesis 25. And those 2 nations were Jacob and Esau. And it says there that they were 2 manner of people, 2 totally different nations or distinct national types. And there was a conflict between those 2 sons from the beginning, and it's continued all the way to this end.
Now, what has the conflict been, and what has continued between the end of these 2 nations that he just said, of 2 natural origins? One is rich and powerful, lives off the fruit of the land, and the other one doesn't. One oppresses the other one doesn't. One has lied, deceit, killed, and destroyed. The other one hasn't. All right. The same thing with the third seed that he said, the Ishmaelites. So, and their seed. So do you understand now how the prophecy in the book all matches in? Even though they try to fashion it to their own liking and their own rule, the truth still is hidden even within a lie. So it's all right there. Almost 3 years ago, the agenda with Syria and Turkey, way before it even got started to what it is today, was already pushed. So what does this tell you? Thank you. And I am Judah and Asher, E1A1B, M91 chromosome, Hebrew.